Welcome again to another edition of Unbreakable, a mental health podcast with Jay Glazer. I'm Jay Glazer, and there is few times in life that I've come across someone with the very first interaction, that person changed my life. And I'm proud to have become friends with this person first, then best friends with this person, then a brother to this person. And man, I'm so excited for everybody here to meet this magical human being. She is, like I said, a sister to me. She's someone who actually asked me permission to take her own life one day, which thankfully I said no. It's not a question you get asked too often in life, but this happened. So with that, I'm going to bring in the one and only Staff Sergeant Kirstie Ennis, who is the rock star of all rock stars. And folks, get ready because your life is about to change. How you doing, KE?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Jay.
Absolutely. I've introduced you a lot of times before, and it's, I've said it a million times to people. Like you're around Kirstie. And look, so Kirstie and I met many, many years ago. She came in at MVP. And that day I'm like, oh my God, this girl is just different. So real quick, before we get into it, well, actually, there is no real quick. Why don't you introduce to everybody who you are? And like, man, how do we even start with this? Okay, introduce everybody who you are.
So I joined the Marine Corps at 17 years old and lied through my teeth to get my parents to sign the paperwork. I ended up being an aerial door gunner on the 53 platform for 6 years in the United States Marine Corps.
Wait. One of two female door gunners in the Marines. Is that correct?
At the time, yes. I don't know what the stats are now. So
okay, right, okay. Sometimes I have to stop Kirstie as you hear because she'll just go through shit like it's just like, just a normal Tuesday, and it's not a normal fucking Tuesday. But go ahead, Kate. So one of two female door gunners, the entire fucking Marines. Go ahead.
I pride myself very much on my combat action wings with 3 gold stars and my combat meritorious promotions. But on my last deployment to Afghanistan, my helicopter went down. And as a result of that crash, I sustained some pretty severe injuries, everything from traumatic brain injury, damage to my spine, my arms, my ears, my eyes. And then I'm actually sitting in my wheelchair right now. I lost my left leg above the knee pretty high. And the Marine Corps ended up forcing me into a medical retirement, and it was the last thing that I wanted to happen. And at that point in time, joining the Marine Corps at 17 years old and giving 6 years to it, that was all I knew. Like I bled green. Like that was my passion. That was my purpose. That was my life. So when I was forced into that medical retirement, I felt like my whole world was just like pulled out from underneath me. So I really struggled mentally and emotionally with figuring out who I was going to be again. What was going to be my identity. So I ended up turning to the outdoors, fell in love with snowboarding.
Wait, back it up. Injuries, and you just went through these again. How many vertebrae did you crush?
My C2, C3, and C4, so 3.
Okay. Your face dislocated and went through your neck, which Kirstie loves to show pictures of.
I do. Yeah, no, I could actually fit my fist through my face. Like lost the jaw, all of my teeth shattered. It was brutal, and I'm actually very, very fortunate and grateful that I'm still here today because I shouldn't be. I was pronounced dead on impact when the helicopter went down. So by the grace of God, I am still here. Like I said, I struggled though in a lot of ways.
So now we have all these, rupture or crushed vertebrae. Your face dislocated, went through your neck. You have lost your left leg. Okay. Since then, what have you done?
Well, I do more now on one leg than I ever even dreamed of doing on two. I have 3 masters. I am so close to being done with my doctorate. I'm a firefighter. I'm a pilot with one leg. I've gone on to compete at the national and international level in snowboarding, surfboard crossing, bank slalom. I own a couple of businesses. Been climbing the tallest mountains in the world and snowboarding them down.
How many of the highest peaks of the world have you summited?
So I've actually been on all 7 continents. Summited all of those but Everest. I do have to have a redemption round on Everest in April and May of 2023, and then I'll be done with my 7 Summits initiative.
Oh, you'll be done. Good.
Oh, yeah.
Because just so you all know, I love Kirstie. I fucking hate when she does these because she's on one leg and she's going up Everest, which people with 2 legs die all the time. And, I just worry about her when she does it because she's my sister. and she gets real ornery with me. And because I'm very supportive of her dreams, but I want her around for a while. So explain to everybody what happened at the top of Everest.
So I actually, so in 2019 was my first Everest attempt, and I did not climb it the traditional way. I actually spent a month above 20,000 feet, which is very abnormal. It actually might be a Guinness World Record. But long story short, we made it to about 600 feet from the summit, and my two climbing partners ran out of oxygen. And my Sherpa came up to me and said that, I had the option to continue going, but I didn't see the point in it. I didn't see the point in summiting without my team. There are so many things that are more important than our own personal successes. And I didn't want to stand on top of Everest without my two guys, without my climbing partners. So I made the call to turn around. It was a very difficult one, but in my heart of hearts, I know that it was the right one. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I got somebody else hurt or something happened to them. So definitely decided to shift my perspective on all of it. And now I just told myself that I left a piece of my heart over on Everest and I have to go back for it.
So look, this
time,
this time.
Well, and this time, just to really stress you out, Jay. So last time I was out there for last time I was out there for 2 months, but this time I'm actually doing a speed ascent. So I will get to Kathmandu on April 3rd. I'll get out to the Khumbu region. I'll summit Lhotse, then sleep on the summit of Lhotse, and then go straight into an Everest push, which is pretty unheard of. But I'll be back home by May 3rd. So 30 days door to door.
Why are you deciding to stress me even more?
Well, for my own sake, really.
Why?
Your body
what goes between your ears for that?
Well, your body just deteriorates so much out there. And if I can speed climb, then I want to find a team who can speed climb with me. I don't want to spend a bunch of my time, energy, and effort, resources even, out there, sitting in a tent for a month. If we can knock it out, let's get it done and get back home and love on my family and friends.
So what about all this that happened that gets you, and when was it you made the decision, say, I'm going to do more with one leg than I ever would have with two?
So on the 1 year anniversary of my helicopter crashing, which would have been June 23rd, 2013, I decided that I was going to take my own life. I was going to walk into the Colorado River in Blythe, California. And again, for whatever reason, I was spared again. And my dad came to me in the hospital and he said, "You've got to be shitting me. The enemy couldn't kill you and now you're going to do it for them." And that was kind of that tough love and sucker punch that I really needed to be able to continue forcing myself to put one foot in front of the other. And I decided that if I couldn't show up or live for myself anymore, then I needed to show up and live for the people around me. The men and the women who never made it home, my teammates, family, friends, so on and so forth. And that was a pivotal moment. And don't get me wrong, like you mentioned, Jay, there's been plenty of other times where I've been in very serious, bouts of depression and, like I said, struggling and suffering through a lot of the emotional stuff. But we're here and we're still doing it. We're figuring it out together. So
but there's a difference of your dad saying, "Hey, you're going to stay alive," and then a difference of you saying, "I'm going to go become the 5th ranked snowboarder in the world. I'm going to summit the 7 summits. I'm going to be a firefighter with one leg. I'm going to do all this." What about, when did you kind of, or just what happened to get you to say, "I'm going to have mental wealth instead of struggle with mental health"?
I think I got to a point where I could actually figure out how to harness pain and to lean into my community. I get told time and time again that I'm the strong one, but there's nothing about Kirstie that's really that strong. I pull strength from the people around me. And so once I really had that team and that family and that community rallying behind me and believing in me, even when I didn't want to believe in myself, I feel like that's what really changed things for me. I joined the Marine Corps to serve people. And so now when I have all of these other people showing up for me and rallying for my dreams, it gets very hard to let them down. It's always about who's watching.
Right.
I obviously don't have kids of my own or anything like that, but I didn't have a role model that I needed or wanted when I was in the hospital. I want to be that person for others, the inspiration and the hope, motivation, or like I said, I'm just very, very grateful that I've had so many people show up for me. I want to show up for others.
So you see Kirstie is one of the most beautiful women on the planet. And it's striking when you see this beautiful woman walk in and she has a prosthetic leg. And the number of kids that walk up and point and go, "Look," and you're always so gracious to them. at what point did you say, hey, okay, I could use this for good and change it from, I don't want people looking at me?
So there was, I did a 1,000-mile walk back in what would have been September to November of 2015. I ended up walking 1,000 miles across England, Scotland, and Wales, and it was to raise awareness for, men and women who either never made it home from the war or they took their own life.
By the way, she walked with Prince Harry. So go ahead.
yeah, he was there too, but that's besides the point.
This is where Kirstie again downplays everything. But yes, she was with Prince Harry. But go ahead.
But yeah, at like mile 500, a little boy with hearing aids came up to me and he was like, I'm just like you. And at first I had no freaking clue what he was talking about. I was like, this does not correlate whatsoever. But when I stopped and I thought about it, I was like, you absolutely are. You're different and you can go on and do whatever you want. It may not look the same as everybody else, but you can go forth and you can change the world. You can improve the world, Jay. Right. But then at mile 650, a little girl with braces on her legs came up to me and said, I'm just like you. And like, that was the moment that it clicked.
Wow. I've never known, we've been best friends for a long time. I never asked you that. I never knew that.
So much to learn.
There's so much to learn. That's incredible. So I want to go back now to, again, so you hear how bubbly Kirstie is, but there's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of pain. I've been there for you for a lot of that pain. And I can't blame you. How many surgeries have you had?
48.
48 surgeries. How many amputations of your left leg?
Oh, geez. The last one would have been 5.
So the 5th one, right? Mm-hmm. So 5. So they keep going up. So, Kirstie, one night it was your 4th amputation. I am hosting the UFC, the very first ever UFC at Madison Square Garden in New York, the very first one. And Kirstie texts me and she's like, I'm done. I'm asking permission to take her own life. And this is not a normal text to get, especially while you're in the middle of hosting the UFC at Madison Square Garden. And I was like, no, I'm not agreeing to this. Like, there's going to be too much good you're going to do in the world. You're going to be of service to too many people. And man, that was just a moment I'll never forget in my life, Kay.
Well, no, I just appreciate you being there because, again, like, had you, I don't want to cry, but like, had you ignored me or had you let that go for a little while, like, who knows where I'd be today, if I'd even be here. And I guess that's what I mean by people showing up for one another. Like, ask people how they're doing and truly mean it. Like, be genuinely curious as to how they're doing and figure out ways to make their life a little bit better too. I firmly believe that we're not put on this earth just to live for ourselves. Like, we are social beings. We need each other. And so you showing up for me, the guys and gals from MVP, our Unbreakable family, everybody, like, it was huge because I couldn't have done it on my own.
But think of how many people you've saved since then.
I don't know if I've saved people.
You've saved a lot of people. You have saved a lot. Your story has saved a lot of people. Your story, I'm sure that there are other people who are going to take their lives and heard your story and did not. I'm sure that you've gotten other people to use what makes them different, to empower them and to inspire them and to improve the world instead of just, saying, okay, I'm tapping out. So no, you've saved, you've helped, you've lifted, you've empowered. Thank God we have that conversation. Thank God you're still here. And I think your work is just starting.
I do too, actually. Right? I really do. But, there are days that I wake up and I miss the Marine Corps so much. Had really terrible, shitty things not happen to me, like, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have a very unique platform. I wouldn't be able to help people in the same capacity that I do now. So gosh, this is sitting in the wheelchair again. Like, this is a curse that I would not wish on my own worst enemy whatsoever. But at the end of the day, like, I count my blessings. Like, I don't have to do anything anymore. I get to do them, Right. A very difficult path led me to a lot of great things.
Why are you in your wheelchair right now?
Because my legs beat up from the surgery still.
Okay.
Romping around in fire gear, bunker gear, and experimenting with prosthetics again, per usual.
So now tell me what you're doing with the fire department.
So right now I'm in fire academy. So I'm a firefighter. Well, I'm a volunteer structural firefighter. And I actually just finished my wildland courses. But don't stress out, Jay. Like that's not my end game. So right now I'm also in flight school.
You're fucking killing me.
There's so much to catch you up on. I don't know if 30 minutes of a podcast is enough. But yeah, no, I want to be an aerial firefighter. So right now I'm in flight school. And for me to be able to do my job well from the sky, I mean, it's just like the Marine Corps. Like I have to understand what the guys and gals on the ground are doing, and have the utmost respect for what they do, so that way I can protect them. So yeah, so learning all the ins and outs. I'm actually going to EMS school next semester to figure that part out too.
So I'm going to get a little deep here with you, and I'm probably going to cry. I'm trying not to here, but I've never asked you this. Kirstie has seen me at my darkest also, right? You've seen me at my worst, at my darkest. Why have you always been there for me when I have not been there for myself?
Because you're worth it. I think there's like, now I'm gonna start crying.
Right.
And I think it's so easy to forget like our own self, like our self-worth and our own value. But there are so many outside people that are watching you day in and day out, and they see all of the great things. And I think that's what makes life so special, is you work through the hard stuff together. I never gave up on you. You never gave up on me.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's what it's all about, is just showing up. Like, I know who you are at your core. I'm willing to stand by your side through all the thick, nasty, dark, deep stuff.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
There's been a lot. There's been a lot on both. You know, it's like I said, and listen, I come on here and I'm one version of Jay Glazer on here because I'm hosting, but the reason why I get to host this, as you say, host this podcast, is because I've been through the shit and the darkness and that gray that we talk about, but often we hide it. With Kirstie, I haven't hid it ever. And that's probably one of the biggest gifts you've ever given me, is I can be safe and have these meltdowns to you, and you're still there, and I know you're still going to be there.
Always. Well, and I think there's so much power in being vulnerable. Like, it takes a lot of courage to talk about some of the things and be open and honest about some of the things that you have been with me, and on a public platform, especially. So
you've seen a lot of people take advantage of me. You've seen a lot of people, you know, I give my heart to everybody, because being of service is one of the things that gets me through the gray. And a lot of times I'm of service to the wrong people. Right. And a lot of times Kirstie will warn me of that, but more than anything, she picks me up after it, you know? But at the same time, like, I've seen you go through some dark periods. You had a shift probably in the last, 2 years or so, where, I was always worried about you. And now I'm not worried about you, because you just, those dark spells kind of go quicker than they have. Do you know what it was that got you to kind of go from that? I think you were operating more in the gray than you are now.
Well, I think just like figuring out what my releases were going to be. I'm not the best with words all the time. I am awful about picking up the phone to actually call somebody and talk for an hour and a half or any of that. But like figuring out like the physical release. I mean, Unbreakable and MVP, again, you guys taught me so much of like going out there, doing something strenuous, and then pouring your heart out. Like, I think that, yeah, that was a huge like turning point for me. But then also like being patient with myself. Carving out time for me to love on myself and to sit with my emotions, because sitting with your emotions is miserable. But I think it's so crucial for so many of us. And yeah, kind of started leaning into meditating probably right after you moved away from LA. And again, that's a hard thing to do, like sit in silence and really sit with your own thoughts and try to push out, like block everything else out, like the chaos. I guess those are just practices, but those really did, like adding those into my routine. I mean, it's a game changer. I mean, I'm still rolling. I'm still doing jujitsu and MMA, and like, there's a lot of anger and aggression in here that like has to be let out before I can really heal.
I taught Kirstie how to kick. Again, she's on one leg, and I swear to you, I got the video, man. It's on my Instagram. You have it in yours. I swear to you, she kicked better with better form on one leg than some of the pro fighters that we've had over the years. And my reaction was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? And Kirstie just laughed it off like this, like, yeah, no big deal. Just do a perfect fucking sidekick. No problem. Yeah, it's okay. No problem. It's unbelievable. Like, I've always said, I know what you've done, but I don't know what the fuck you can't do. And, I always say, let's walk this walk together, you and I. And I'm just, and again, you keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Do you ever see a time where it's going to be enough? Or are you going to push until you've pushed yourself over the edge?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know me. I will probably, there is no threshold really. I think as long as I'm, relearning everything as an amputee and just like ways of life, I'm going to find every challenge out there that I can tackle. I do think that I'm genuinely a curious person, and I like learning and I like figuring things out because I don't mind doing things the hard way. If it means I'm going to set somebody else up later on down the road for their success, make it easier for other people to do the things that I'm doing. I mean, the harsh reality though is in 10 years, everything is going to start to hurt a lot more. So I might just have to figure out a different way to help people.
How about we pick up chess?
No. You think I have the attention span for chess? Wait a second. No.
Something that's not going to kill you. How about we pick up when you were climbing mountains, what is the hardest part of having one leg? I'm sure there's a lot, but what's the most frustrating thing for you?
There's obviously the pain factor. I mean, I'm never going to be biomechanically correct. My body works entirely different than everybody else's out there. But my thing is I compare myself to those people, and that's so frustrating, and that's a terrible headspace to be in. So being able to continue convincing myself to put one foot in front of the other, that's the hardest part. You and I talk about it all the time. If you keep your head and your heart in the right place, you can overcome anything physically. And to be a good mountaineer, you just have to be strong, stubborn, and stupid. You have to forget how bad it sucks day in and day out and keep moving. But I think that's the hardest part, and probably one of the biggest things that I like about mountaineering, because it truly is more of a mental and emotional test than anything physically.
Why do you compare yourself to everybody else? You're different. That's the whole point. You ain't like everybody else. You're fucking different.
Hey, you're out there for a long time.
But why would you of all people compare yourself to anybody else? They're all looking at you going, holy shit, the girl with the one leg is, she's 1,000 meters above us.
Believe it or not, Jay, I guess I am human. But no, well, and actually I'll rephrase that too. So may not be comparing myself to others, but comparing myself to my old self. If I had two legs, I'd be faster. If I had two legs, I'd be stronger. If I had two legs, I'd be able to maneuver better. But if you know that's counterproductive for you, why still do it? Well, no, that's why you check yourself. You figure out how to you create, again, practices and figure out how to shift your perspective. I mean, like I said, there are times that I bitch, moan, and complain all day long out there, but it makes it that much more worth it when I reach the summit. So.
Give me the most beautiful moment, one of the most beautiful moments of your life, because you have been blessed with where you are now.
One of the most beautiful moments of my life. I think
your child came up and said something, or you something. Go ahead.
Social media is a blessing and a curse again. It's something that I try to distance myself from. I think that it can also be very unhealthy practice tool, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
But it has also connected me to some really amazing kids. There are little kids that I write letters to and send them pictures of Everest. There's the little girls that I send, the Barbie dolls to when they're in the hospital. And some of these little kids are now I've been alongside them for all of their recoveries, whether they're battling cancer or they lost a limb by some kind of trauma, whatever it is. But social media really connected me with these people and these families. And it's exactly who and where I want to be. Like I said, I want to be able to help the next generation, people like me. And so, I think that her name's Ruby is one of them. But yeah.
You asked me one time, because I told you I'm not going to agree to suicide, but you asked me if it ever gets to where your leg goes up where they have to remove your hip, that I would agree to let you go. Are you still in that same mindset, or could we get you past that?
Do you want the honest truth?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. If they came to me and said that we're going to take the rest of your femur, you're going to be a hip dysartic, that would be a tough one. Because when they tried to take it before, like that was like I can still hear myself screaming when I was telling the doctors not to wake me up again. And I still very much so believe and feel that way. Like life isn't easy. You know, don't get me wrong. I go forth and I can do some great things. I've been all over the world and I've helped tons of people. But nothing about my life right now is easy. If I lost more of my leg, it would be a game changer. Even if I lost another inch of my leg, it would be huge.
I'm still not agreeing to that though. You said the hip. I agreed to the hip. I'm not agreeing to another inch of your leg. And and what people don't know too, you still have the nerve, right? So you're like I've seen her, and Kirstie spent a lot of time. She stays in my house a lot, and she'll almost try and scratch her foot that's not there.
Oh yeah, phantom pain.
The phantom. It kills me to see. It kills me. And it's that has got to be. Do you ever get used to that?
No, I still like bend down to put like a sock on, my left foot that's not there. So I'll try and get up and, get out of bed and I'll take a step with the left leg that's not there. And next thing you know, you're on the ground. But yeah, no, I mean, the mind's a wild thing. Yeah. Like, I mean, now that we're talking about it, now that it's like on my conscious, like, yeah, I'm moving my toes that aren't there.
Oh, way to make me feel shitty. Appreciate it. Kirstie and I cry a lot, but we laugh a lot together as well. You can see, and we have to. And she just, gang, you know who my circle is. You've seen it. I mean, it's a ridiculous circle, but honestly, nobody lifts me up more than this girl. This girl, just being around her, she just changes my life. She changes my mood. She's a game changer. Roger Goodell. One time we're in an MVP session and he fucking pulls Kirstie aside and he says, "Oh my God, you're going to change the world." And she goes, "No, we're going to improve it." Like, who the fuck says things like this? She's like out of a movie. It was unbelievable. Like the things that just come out of this girl's mouth are incredible. And she changes, you've changed my life. You've changed other people's lives. You have improved the world. Before I let you go, I ask all my guests this. Give me your unbreakable moment. And you've had a lot. And you may have already mentioned it, but something that could have broken you, should have broken you, and didn't, you came through the other side of that tunnel.
So it's actually the story behind my Die Living tattoo on my wrist. During one of my climbs out in Indonesia, brutal. It was a 70-mile trek in. It was awful conditions. We're talking blizzard. It's a 16,000-foot rock face where this rock is just shredding every piece of gear that we have. Ropes are popping and breaking. You have to go across these things called Tyrolean traverses, which are basically just like steel cables that you have to walk on, like shimmy across to be able to bridge a gap. And I summit, but I'm moving slow. The two local tribes ransack my base camp. So I'm standing on top of this rock face, looking down, realizing that I have nowhere to go. Like there's no tent to go back to.
What do you mean ransack your base camp? Like
they destroyed. Oh yeah, they destroyed everything.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like I'm already disheartened. I'm stoked that I summited, but I'm looking down. I'm like, I don't even want to go back down and deal with this mess. And I just started to legitimately panic. I started to cry. I started to get cold. My hands weren't working. It's snowing. It's obviously freezing. I'm soaking wet. And my camera guy actually came to me before this huge, long rappel section. And he was like, you need to get your shit together because this is where everyone dies.
Whoa.
And like, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's plaques everywhere. And so in that moment, like I felt everything all at once. I make the joke that, I found Jesus, but like everything from fear to pride to heartbreak, heartache, love for my family, missing my family, not even knowing if I was going to go home to my family. And it was just like in that moment, I was like, this is what it is. Like, this is like what it feels like to be alive. And so that's why my arm says Die Living.
Wow. I'm so
and I did
it. I'm so glad you never told me this story before your last climb.
Never climbing again.
Oh my God. Unbelievable. Well, Kirstie, baby, doll, I appreciate you joining me. You are one of you're not just the best friend, you're a sister to me. And, proud to always say that we walk this walk together, and I always will. And more than anything, I'll always get your back.
Thank you, Jay. No, and I'm right here with you, right here behind you always. I love you.
Love you too, baby doll.